Good afternoon. In this video, we're going to go over this week's options watch list. Before I get into the watch list, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and in my bio section of social media accounts. Also, please like the channel, subscribe to the please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Just get that out of the way now. The put to call ratio for the week at 0.60. Nothing spectacular. It's not too high, not too low. Nothing to be even remotely concerned about or pay attention to. Now, as far as the economic calendar for the week, not really much going on this week. Monday, a couple of Fed speakers in the afternoon. Tuesday, really nothing Tuesday. Wednesday, 10-year bond auction at 1 and a couple of Fed speakers in the afternoon. Thursday, unemployment claims in the morning. 30-year bond auction in the afternoon at 1. That ends up being a pretty big mover. Friday, consumer sentiment, inflation expectations, 10 a.m. and a Fed speaker. So really not too much going on. So be kind of curious to see what happens this week. Most of the big people have already reported. Looking at the earnings, I mean, nothing spectacular reporting this week. So yeah, with that said, we get, the market gapping up right now. We get some Israel news coming out, and France wants to send troops to Ukraine. That could end up starting some things up, escalating things even more. Israel and the ceasefire and all that stuff is happening now. So we get a nice bear flag on the daily right here on SPY. It's dropping down. Got a bear flag channel more or less at the top of the channel right now. And there's a bottom at right around 500. So we'll have to see if this bear flag holds, or if we go back to shoot back up to all-time high. I mean, who knows? There's so much craziness going on right now. The market could just start thinking that we're going to get some rate cuts because we had some bad news and bad numbers. And whenever we get bad news and bad numbers, the market gets super hopeful, and we're going to get rate cuts or something like that. Even though the Fed, Powell said we're not going to, but the market doesn't care what Powell says. Well, it does, but I mean, the market's more drunk on opium than it is anything. So who knows what SPY is really going to do this week. So we'll watch it. We'll just keep an open mind and just play it day by day according to how it is. We had a huge gap up, so I'd watch it either or. I'd watch it over 513 for a push to 515, 520, and 525, making new high, all-time high. If it gets over 524.61, which is all-time high, we're going to push to 430. We're going to overshoot that. We're going to overshoot it probably a lot. So I definitely look at that. And we have a gap that needs to get filled underneath 406. So I'd watch for puts under 510 or even 508. 509 for gap fill of 505 then 500. And 495 is a low. And technically the channel's at 500, but it breaks 500, we go to 495. We break 495, we could see a significant drop on SPY. So, but we'll have to see what happens. I'm not going to get too hopeful on that. But the one thing I do want to point out is that VIX is down here at 1350. I mean, it likes to bounce when it gets down at 1250. So we could end up seeing SPY grind up, could do a gap and grind, which it loves to do. Gap up a couple dollars, it'll grind in a dollar channel and gap up and grind. I mean, SPY could definitely do that, and that's all it's going to take is a gap and grind, and we're going to see VIX under 13 at 1250 again in a flash. So I think we're going to end up dropping VIX down to 1250 before we actually end up having a pop, and we end up SPY ends up dropping. What the news will be, who knows? It could be the troops to Ukraine, it could be the Gaza ceasefire, it could be something with Israel, it could be something with Iran, it could be something with Taiwan. I mean, it could be a number of things. There's so much things going on in the world, but you just pick and choose, and I'm sure something will happen. Something always does. Tesla had a big gap up. It's started to fill the gap a little bit. I'd be watching it, either or, either direction. I'd be watching for underneath 176 for a gap fill down to the 170s, or it does manage to get over 185, push to 190, 200, and it gets over 200, we can end up seeing a pretty big move on Tesla. Could squeeze to 250. Well, actually 220, 240 to 250. I mean, oh, it's a pretty big squeeze, but 220 is definitely within the card. So definitely keep an eye on that. Apple just had a big gap up, and I don't like seeing these gap up and fade. So I'm looking to see if maybe if they're gonna have a gap fill under 182.50. Watch for a gap fill down to the 175 area or on Apple. That wouldn't be even think about going long, especially after Warren Buffett just dumped like 13% of the shares. We'll have to see how Apple responds to that. I mean, that could be enough. If Apple sinks hardcore from that, I mean, SPY is going to end up dropping too. But, you know, we've seen Apple drop and SPY just end up staying green and going to all-time high, or end up following that one stock, that one out of the Magnificent Seven. Could be NVIDIA that just starts going and ignoring Microsoft and Apple dumping or something, and just follow NVIDIA, because the market loves to do stuff like that. It will love to follow that one stock that's doing strong and ignore all the other ones that's going red, even though it has more influence in the actual index. And that's just how it is. So Amazon is another one to keep an eye on. It's getting close to all-time high. I mean, all-time high is 189. It's at 186. So I'd watch over Friday's high over 187. Push to 190. It gets to 190. I think I'm going to squeeze. It's going to squeeze to 200. Have a big push to 200. So, I mean, you could say this is a big, massive inverted head and shoulders. You get the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder. I mean, this could be, depending on how you look at it, I mean, this could be a massive weekly inverse head and shoulders that we can end up seeing a push to 200, 210, 220 on Amazon. So definitely keep an eye on that. NVIDIA just having a strong weekly green candles. We got down to 750 and bounced hard, and it's already back up here. So if it gets over Friday's high of what, 895, push to 900, it gets over 900, we're going to see it probably rocket to 950, and who knows if it gets to 950, we'll get to 1,000 this time. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. The RSI has cooled off substantially on the daily and the weekly, so it does have room to run weekly and daily if NVIDIA decides to jump to 1,000. So definitely keep an eye on that. Meta gap down from earnings. I mean, it could fill the gap, but I'm just not quite sure how I feel about this. I mean, the RSI is really low on the daily, so we'll have to keep an eye on it over Friday's high of what, 455. It gets over 455. Probably push to 460 to 475, maybe for a gap fill. Didn't really fill the gap below either. Gaps fit around 405. So on the short side, I would watch underneath 440 or even 445 for push down to 430, 420. It gets under 420. Then watch for 400 for a gap fill on Meta. So it's got a gap fill on the upside and the downside. It's kind of sitting in nowhere's land right now on that. So Microsoft bouncing right off that weekly 20 EMA. So we'll have to see what it actually does here. Now I'm kind of leaning towards, if it does push, NVIDIA takes off, Microsoft might take off too. So I'd watch it over, I could say even 410. It's over 410. It's going to push to 415, 420, 425 pretty fast on that. So we'll have to see if that gets it being hot or not. The AI plays on that. Why can't I just type in Netflix correctly? There we go. Oops, I can't type in Netflix. Okay. Netflix, it's kind of the same thing. We're kind of in a no man's land. Well, we got a gap to fill down underneath 435. We gap down from earnings, but it's at high of the gap resistance right here. So RSI is down pretty low on the hourly, on the daily and the weekly. So not much on the hourly though. It's pretty oversold on the hourly. So maybe we pull back a little bit to 570. Then we make a run for the 580 and go for a gap fill. So, but I would also watch for a downside gap fill too. I mean, it's been holding this 535 area. So, you know, I mean, if you want to look with the short side, I would wait for underneath 570, push to 550 and breaks that 550, 545 area. We're going to end up testing gap support at 535. Then we get a pretty significant drop to 500. So we get some open air on either side of Netflix too. So could we get some interesting plays this week? Just keep an eye on that. And that's going to do it for the watch list. And thanks for watching.